What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Taj, and I have a pretty loaded day. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. The first thing I'm going to talk about today is the most obvious thing, and that's going to be the All-Star reserves. They were just announced about an hour ago, and I mean, like when I'm recording this video. It's probably going to be more than an hour from, when you hear me talking about this. But they were announced today, Thursday. And yeah, I'm going to go over them. I'm going to say basically who I think should have made it, who I think shouldn't have made it, who should have made it instead of the people that, whatever. You guys know the deal. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment an idea down below, subscribe if you're new. I also have a gaming channel. The link's in the description for that. And follow my Twitter, links also in the description of that. Post a lot on Twitter. I'm very active there. All right. Now, it's about time to talk about the Eastern Conference. Then we're going to talk about the West. And then we're going to talk about Rajon Rondo's little stint. But first, yes, the East. So, the Eastern Conference reserves announced. We had Isaiah Thomas, John Wall in the backcourt for the backups. And then we had Kevin Love, Paul George, and Paul Millsap. And then the two wild cards, I believe that was who that was. I don't think they announced it like this, but I think it was going to be like these are the last two guys announced were Kyle Lowry and Kemba Walker. Yeah, so Isaiah, John Wall, Kyle Lowry, Kemba Walker. Yeah, all right. So those are the 7 guys that were announced here in this All-Star game. Now, first of all, I just want to address that I think that Isaiah Thomas and John Wall should have easily been the starters for the backcourt in the Eastern Conference this year over Kyrie and DeMar DeRozan. I've already explained this many times. If you haven't, you don't know why I think this, go check my videos out because I've talked about it all the time. Isaiah Thomas and John Wall are easily the two most deserving Eastern Conference guards in the NBA. They got to start in this All-Star game. They didn't, but they're there, and they were locks to be there because they were that good. They've been that good this season. So obviously, now that I know that those guys aren't starting, I see them in the reserves. It's good. They're supposed to be there. Front court. Paul George, that's a fine pick. I had him in my All-Star picks. Kevin Love, great pick. Those two guys absolutely deserve to be there. But the third guy, Paul Millsap, Atlanta Hawks forward, Paul Millsap, who many people, I don't think, this guy didn't really get any votes, okay? He wasn't really expected to be here. He got picked by the coaches over Joel Embiid, who, honestly, I think totally should have been there. Other people, who didn't make it from the front court that were receiving votes and that were receiving consideration besides Embiid, Kristaps Porzingis, Carmelo Anthony, Andre Drummond, among others. There's a few. But I think it was pretty obvious that you had to put, I forgot to mention it, Hassan Whiteside. He was also there. And there are others. If I forgot someone, it's because it's just off the top of my head right now. So basically, I'm fine with Paul George and Kevin Love. Those guys are perfect. Those guys totally deserve to be there. They've done great this year. But I can completely make the argument that Joel Embiid has had a better season than Paul Millsap. I mean, Paul Millsap's numbers, I'd argue that Joel Embiid's numbers are better than Paul Millsap's numbers, and Paul Millsap plays 10 more minutes per game than Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has helped his team in numerous categories. He's taken the Sixers, who were a dumpster fire for the last 3 years. They've been at the very bottom of the East for the last 3 years. They've been winning like 10 games for the last 3 years, and he's already brought them up. They've won 17, 18 games already, and we're not even at All-Star break yet. They're in a legit hunt for that 8 seed or 7 seed playoff spot. It's not a joke. Like, these guys, they keep winning the way they are. They're winning right now. They're on a roll. They could make the playoffs, and it's all because of Joel Embiid. It's not like they have this whole stacked team that they just put together. I mean, they got a couple guys, but no one is doing it like Joel Embiid. They're a completely different team when he's out there, when he's not, because he has missed some games. He's been so valuable to this team, and it hurts because Paul Millsap has been in trade rumors. He's having an off year. The Hawks, they started off terribly, and they got back up, but it's Paul Millsap. I like Paul Millsap, okay? I like Paul Millsap a lot. I like him more than most people do. I think he's extremely underrated, and nobody would consider him from the spot. None of the fans. I know that people in the media, the assistant coaches, they probably love Paul Millsap because he's efficient. He plays both sides. He's a smart player. He's a vet. He's just the type of guy that gains respect from coaches around the league. But you gotta know, Joel Embiid is easily have been better this season. And I didn't understand what goes through your mind. Maybe you have to get into the real advanced stats to see this. Maybe it's the sheer fact that Joel Embiid's missed a bunch of games. He doesn't play enough minutes while he's out there. I don't think that should count against him, though, because he's on an injury he is on a minutes limit. I mean, he played 37 minutes a night if he could, right? I mean, come on, man. This is ridiculous. And I think a lot of people agree with me on this. I was looking through social media. Basically, everybody who was sending in their responses to this were just talking about, oh, Joel Embiid snubbed. Joel Embiid was the only guy. I mean, there were a few other players that they were talking about. Carmelo Anthony didn't make it. I didn't think Carmelo should make it anyway. I thought that this was a spot on all-star ballot for sure. You know, the reserves were spot on. Besides this, I think that you make this one substitution, Embiid for Millsap, and you got a perfect, like, I don't have any problem with it. So, you know, that's that. Of course, the wild cards I covered already. I said it was Kyle Lowry, who I thought was very good this season. I think he's been the third best guard in the East so far this season, I think, behind Thomas and Wall, or Wall and Thomas, and I'd actually put Wall over Thomas. If you want to know why, I'll let you guys know about that. But yeah, the other one other than Thomas was Kemba Walker, who is also deserving. He's getting his first ever NBA All-Star appearance. I believe that Kemba Walker is the only player in this Eastern Conference team, on this reserves team, that is making his first ever All-Star appearance. Kevin Love's making his first ever All-Star appearance for the Eastern Conference. That's also something that I'd like to add in. Now we're going to talk about the West. So the Western Conference reserves were announced. They went as so. In the backup backcourt, we had Russell Westbrook, of course, Klay Thompson, and then in the backup front court, we had Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins, Marc Gasol. Again, that's basically, you know, what I had. And then the wild cards, there was Gordon Hayward and DeAndre Jordan. So first of all, Westbrook and Klay Thompson, I have no disagreements there. Then you had Green, Gasol, and who was the last guy? Cousins. Those guys all deserving. I had them in my picks. Those five were all in my picks. And then the wild cards, Gordon Hayward. I believe those are the wild cards. Honestly, I'm just this is just the people who made it. I think I'm just going off what I think are the wild card picks, but it was Gordon Hayward and DeAndre Jordan. So now 6 of these 7 I agree with. I'm not going to go with the DeAndre Jordan one, okay? Because I don't think that he's had a better season than Rudy Gobert, who was my pick. Rudy Gobert does it as a defensive leader. He's been better, I think. The Jazz have dealt with so many injuries, but, you know, he has been really the stabilizing force. It hasn't really mattered. They've still had a great record. The Clippers are dealing with injuries, but when Blake and Chris Paul go out, DeAndre Jordan can't carry the same load defensively or offensively, I think, that Rudy Gobert does for his squad, because he's had some bigger outbursts. And he's just the better interior defender. They're so close. I put them like neck and neck. But so far, Rudy Gobert has been incredible in the defensive end. He's anchoring the #1 defense in the league. If you think about opponents' points per game, because the Jazz give up the least amount of points in the NBA, he totally is deserving. I think that he got snubbed. DeAndre Jordan is going to make it, and I like DeAndre Jordan a lot, one of my favorite players. But there was a lot of talk about Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum being snubbed. So if you were going to put Damian or CJ, then you'd have to put them in over maybe Gordon Hayward as a wild card, or over Klay Thompson, definitely not over Russell Westbrook. First of all, my thing about Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, they're putting up great numbers. They've been great on offensive end throughout this season. However, Portland Trailblazers have a historically terrible defense, and they're a huge part of why that defense is so bad. Neither of these guys really bring it on the defensive end. They care about scoring. I don't like the philosophy that, if you could put up huge numbers on the offensive end, you can just be an all-star. You got to bring it. You got to lead your team. They're a disappointment of a team this year. They've been pretty bad. They might not even make the playoffs. They're not in position right now. They're out of the playoffs as we speak. In Dame and CJ, they've contributed to their defensive problems. They've been really good on offense, really bad on defense, so I don't think they deserve it. Gobert has done a huge job to be a total positive player. Jordan has done that too for the most part. So I think those guys are more deserving, actually, than these guys. You might say it's crazy. You might say, well, Damian's putting up, 27 points and 6 assists and whatever. Like, I know that he's putting up great offensive numbers, but if your defense is hurting your team this much, I don't see how much you're helping your team if you guys are really down in the 9th seed. You guys were a 5th seed last year. It shouldn't be happening. Last thing I'm just going to add, if you guys didn't know about Rajon Rondo's Twitter outburst, basically went on a rant, I guess was directed at Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade for calling out the team via the media. If you haven't seen it, it's on Instagram. I'm not going to go over it because, I've already wasted a bunch of time talking about the All-Stars. But basically, my take on it was that maybe Rajon Rondo's right about the fact that these guys shouldn't be calling out the young players through the media, and they should have a better work ethic, and they should just, you know, shut up about it, whatever. That's fine, but to me, it's ridiculously hypocritical for Rajon Rondo to go on social media to post about how his teammates shouldn't be going to the media. Are you serious right now? You're really going to complain about how, oh, they don't want to say it to our face, and then you just clap back on Twitter or Instagram, whatever. Yeah, it was on Instagram. But why? Like, if you really have a problem with what they're doing, you don't just do the same thing they did, okay? That's just dumb. Also, Rajon Rondo, he was talking about them as if, you know, he's like, it doesn't even sound like he wants to be a leader, okay? He's talking about how my vets this, my vets that. I mean, you gotta be a leader on this team. You're a veteran too. I mean, you can't just. I'm not saying that like he because he wasn't really criticizing young players. He's not doing the same thing as them. But you gotta be a leader on this team, and you can't be. That's not how you lead. I mean, you're just making matters worse either way. He might think that, you know, you're exposing them, but is that really what you want to do? I mean, it's obviously he doesn't want to play on this team anymore if that's what he's doing. If that's not helping the team situation. As a Bulls fan, I was pretty mad that he did that. More mad about that than about what Wade and Butler said after the last game. Because I think there's more truth to that, and Rondo is just okay. Come on, I can't talk about this anymore. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to hit that like button. I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.